Playing the
victim. Playing the victim card, and this is a very woke thing. This is the victim that they like to always become the victim to gain sympathy.
In the ever-evolving saga of royal escapades, Harry's tale takes on a curious twist. Proclaiming a desperate need to break free from the constraints of royal life, he paradoxically clings to the very titles and privileges that he denounces. The drama intensifies as Harry and Meghan Markle continue to navigate their self-imposed exile, leaving a trail of contradictions and controversies in their wake. As whispers of burnout and bold new ventures surface, one can't help but wonder, is this the price of freedom or just another act in their relentless pursuit of the spotlight? Let's delve deeper into this unfolding royal enigma. Harry is expected to take a major step back due to being overworked and overthinking, potentially suffering from burnout, according to astrologer Inbal Honigman. Meghan Markle is predicted to have luck and success with a new deal, while Prince William maintains a good work-life balance, ensuring time for family to avoid burnout. Harry has been busy with travels for the Invictus Games, but hasn't secured the same level of royal security since stepping down. Concerns about safety without police protection are a major reason Meghan and their children haven't returned to the UK. Prince William plans to take time off for his children's summer holidays, while Princess Catherine is still undergoing cancer treatment and hasn't returned to full-time royal duties. Harry's unofficial motto seems to be, "Service is exhausting," but the reality appears to be more along the lines of, "Service is non-existent." For all their talk of dedication and duty, Harry and Meghan seem to be more invested in their own narrative and public image than in any meaningful acts of service. Their every move is meticulously orchestrated for maximum media coverage, overshadowing any genuine attempts at philanthropy. It's almost laughable how they portray themselves as champions of various causes while jet-setting around the globe and indulging in luxurious lifestyles. They claim to step back from royal duties for privacy and normalcy, yet they never miss an opportunity to remain in the spotlight, leveraging their royal titles for personal gain. The irony is palpable. While they decry the pressures of royal life, they exploit its benefits to the fullest. Harry and Meghan's focus seems firmly fixed on Meghan's endeavors, leaving little room for true service. They are so caught up in their self-promotion and carefully curated public personas that authentic, impactful service seems to have taken a backseat. It's a spectacle of hypocrisy that leaves many questioning their sincerity and motives. In the grand theater of royal life, Harry and Meghan's performance is one of contradiction and self-indulgence. Their version of service is a hollow echo of what it truly means to serve, more about maintaining their relevance and less about making a real difference. As they navigate this self-imposed exile, one thing is clear. Their priorities are unmistakably skewed towards their own interests, rather than any genuine commitment to the causes they claim to champion. Harry and work used together is a joke. He wouldn't know what the word meant. I guess destroying evidence is hard work, and we can only live in the hope that if he does take a step back, he also takes the grifter's wife with him. Harry, overworked and overthinking, so set to take major step back from plans, really? So don't do anything else, just sit still. Maybe he must be exhausted from all the running around, sitting in front of a computer screen, looking for more awards he didn't earn but can easily buy. Did he move up to working 2 hours a week rather than 1? I still can't believe Harry whining about working overworked. You have to be joking because apart from playing polo, going to the Invictus Games, and visiting Nigeria in a faux royal tour, which he chose to do, what work has he actually done? They called him Bunker Harry when he was in Afghanistan because he was protected 24/7 and played electronic games. Very little work was done there as well. I doubt Harry has worked many days in their entire life, maybe a few when he was in the army, and he certainly doesn't appear to have many brain cells to actually think with. He probably is stressed about all the bad decisions he's made in his life. Just imagine if he had cared enough to go and visit the Queen days before she died at Balmoral. They were in the UK anyway. He could have boasted forever that he was the last grandchild to see her while William was busy doing the school run. This astrologer better rechecks what she saw. Harry isn't overworked, unless you mean sitting down and doing nothing all day, is overworked. As far as burnout from thinking too much, maybe he should stop the propaganda against the royal family. Poor Harry must be hard thinking about what to have for brekkie every morning. Certainly he would never have made it as heir or king if he feels overworked now. Prince William has had the weight of the world on his shoulders and has managed to balance it all with grace and dedication. Meanwhile, Harry, who claims to be overwhelmed, watches over 2 kids and takes trips. It's laughable to think he finds this too much to handle, especially when compared to the responsibilities his brother shoulders daily. Harry's life of leisure, punctuated by frequent vacations and high-profile media appearances, hardly qualifies as the rigorous service he professes to champion. While William juggles state duties, charity work, and family life with a steadfast commitment, Harry appears more interested in cultivating his brand and enjoying the perks of his royal connections without the accompanying responsibilities. His complaints of being overworked ring hollow when viewed against the backdrop of his lavish lifestyle. It's ironic that Harry, who has never had to bear the brunt of royal duties like his brother, now claims burnout from activities that seem more leisurely than laborious. He jets off to exotic locations under the guise of promoting his causes, yet these trips often resemble personal getaways more than philanthropic missions. The real work of service, the kind that requires constant engagement, presence, and genuine effort, seems to elude him. Harry's attempts to carve out an independent identity often fall flat, revealing a dependency on the royal status he simultaneously rejects and exploits. His public statements and actions are a far cry from the noble ideals he purports to uphold. Instead of rolling up his sleeves and getting involved in meaningful work, he seems content to remain in the limelight, riding on the coattails of his royal heritage while complaining about its burdens. In stark contrast, Prince William exemplifies what it means to be a modern royal, balancing public duty with personal life, showing up where it matters, and working tirelessly for the causes he supports. William doesn't just talk about service, he lives it. Harry, on the other hand, appears to be more about talking than doing, more about appearances than substance. The notion that Harry feels overworked is almost comical when considering his lifestyle. If watching 2 children and occasionally attending events exhausts him, one can only imagine how he would have coped with the relentless demands of being the heir or king. Perhaps it's a blessing for the monarchy that Harry isn't in line for the throne, as his actions suggest a preference for privilege without the accompanying toil. Harry's cries of being overwhelmed serve only to highlight his disconnect from the real responsibilities of service. In the grand scheme of royal duty, his contributions appear minimal, his sacrifices non-existent. As he continues to bask in the luxury afforded by his royal connections, his complaints come across as nothing more than the grumblings of someone unwilling to truly engage with the demands of the role he was born into. These people who think Harry is overworked must all be on the same herbal remedies as he is. What planet are they all on? It's almost as if they're living in some alternate reality where attending the occasional charity event and jetting off to glamorous destinations equates to the grind of everyday life for the rest of us. Honestly, it's beyond belief that anyone could look at Harry's life of luxury and leisure and come to the conclusion that he is overworked. In the real world, being overworked means putting in long hours at a job that barely pays the bills, all while trying to keep a household running and maybe finding a few minutes to yourself before collapsing into bed at night. It means stress, exhaustion, and the constant worry about making ends meet. But in Harry's world, overwork seems to mean having to balance a few public appearances with afternoons at the beach and private jet flights to exotic locales. One has to wonder what kind of herbal concoction these folks are indulging in to come up with such a fantasy. Harry, with his team of nannies, personal assistants, and household staff, couldn't possibly be experiencing anything remotely resembling the true pressures of overwork. It's a bit like a billionaire complaining about the price of caviar. It's just not relatable, nor is it believable. If Harry's life of alleged toil is what passes for being overworked, then the rest of us must be living in a state of perpetual emergency. He has traded the genuine duties of royal service for a life of self-indulgence under the guise of philanthropy, all while claiming to be overwhelmed by it all. Perhaps the real issue isn't that Harry is overworked, but that he has lost touch with what real work actually is. Let's not forget that Harry and Meghan stepped back from their royal roles supposedly to find peace and privacy. Yet they seem more eager than ever to stay in the public eye, carefully curating their image and capitalizing on their titles. It's an irony that seems lost on them and their supporters, who apparently believe that this carefully orchestrated lifestyle involves any real degree of hardship. The average person juggles far more demanding schedules without the aid of a royal bank account or the cushion of international fame. For Harry, a busy day might involve a few meetings, some photo shoots, and maybe a trip to a charity event, hardly the stuff of overwork. Compare that to the single parent working 2 jobs, the nurse pulling double shifts, or the teacher spending late nights grading papers. The disconnect is staggering. Perhaps those who believe Harry is overworked are simply enthralled by the glamour and drama that surrounds him, mistaking his carefully managed public persona for genuine struggle. Or maybe they're just as deluded as he appears to be, floating through life in a bubble of privilege that distorts reality. Either way, it's clear they've lost sight of what real work and real exhaustion look like. The notion that Harry is overworked is as fanciful as a fairy tale, complete with a pampered prince who mistakes his leisurely lifestyle for labor. It's a narrative that serves only to highlight just how far removed he is from the everyday experiences of ordinary people. So to those who genuinely believe Harry is overworked, one can only say, welcome to Harry's world, where reality is as distant as the stars and common sense is in short supply. Give it a rest, you submit the same narrative on a regular basis. As for the newspapers racially abusing her and the children, it's simply not true. It's against the UK law to do so. And as for Meghan, we don't want her back. You don't disrespect our queen and get away with it. In fact, Meghan and Harry constantly play the victim card, parading their tales of woe as if they are the only ones who have ever faced criticism or adversity. They portray themselves as martyrs in a crusade against an imagined tyranny, while conveniently ignoring the privileges and platforms they continue to exploit. It's the same tired story over and over again, a narrative crafted to elicit sympathy while dodging accountability for their own actions. Meghan's complaints about the British press are particularly rich. It's as if she expected to join the royal family and only receive glowing praise and adulation, without ever being subject to the scrutiny that comes with such a high-profile position. The British media, for all its faults, has strict regulations against racial abuse, and the idea that the press would flagrantly violate these laws without consequence is ludicrous. Meghan's grievances seem more about controlling the narrative than addressing any genuine injustice. And let's be honest, Meghan's departure from the UK wasn't met with sorrowful cries of loss, but rather a collective sigh of relief. The British public, who hold their queen in high esteem, were appalled by the perceived disrespect shown by Meghan and Harry. The monarchy, an institution that has withstood centuries of scrutiny and change, was suddenly portrayed by this pair as some archaic, oppressive relic simply because it didn't conform to their personal whims and desires. Meghan and Harry seemed to thrive on controversy, stoking the flames of division while masquerading as advocates for unity and compassion. Their constant need for attention and validation is painfully transparent. They left the royal family for privacy, yet their lives seem to be an endless cycle of public appearances, interviews, and high-profile ventures. It's a glaring contradiction that undermines any claim of genuine hardship or persecution. Their endless grievances and accusations have worn thin. The British public has grown weary of their incessant drama and victimhood narrative. It's not that people are indifferent to issues of injustice. It's that they see through the self-serving motives of a couple who appear more interested in their own fame and fortune than in any real cause. In the end, Meghan and Harry have alienated themselves not because of their noble fight against oppression, but because of their relentless pursuit of self-interest disguised as altruism. They want to have their cake and eat it too, to enjoy the prestige and benefits of their royal connections while escaping any of the responsibilities and criticisms that come with it. So give it a rest. The tale of Meghan and Harry is one of squandered opportunities and misplaced priorities. Their constant narrative of victimhood has grown tiresome, and their actions speak louder than their words. The UK has moved on, and perhaps it's time they did too. The Queen and the royal family continue their duties with dignity and grace, a stark contrast to the circus of self-pity and spectacle that Meghan and Harry seem determined to perpetuate. Additionally, we can realize that Harry's wife doesn't know anything, because Harry himself doesn't know anything. If they really knew something, they would have already released it to the press, because that's what Netflix hired them for. That's what Penguin hired them for. Harry has no idea of anything really revealing. That's why he had to lie. And his wife can definitely only lie. Poor Harry. trying to figure out his next moves to get back into good graces with the royal family pocketbook in order to maintain his unroyalistic lifestyle. He's been pacing his 5-acre property and fuming and conniving in his fancy mansion. And then there's the catering to his wife's whims and tantrums. It's so exhausting. Well, that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching our video. And I want to know what you think about these issues. Please express your opinion in the comments below. Hope you will always be cheerful and happy. Don't forget to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.